At the start of 2021, I decided to start a simple spreadsheet to track my income. I did this primarily to estimate my taxes on different income sources and just to get a better picture of how much money I make each month. I also extended this to track my investing and saving activity to make sure that I was hitting my goals and again, just to better visualize my habits. After recently reviewing things, I noticed that I saved about $15,000 in the first 90 days of 2021. This blew me away because just last year, I set a goal for myself to save $15,000 within 18 months, which I obviously accomplished much sooner. So today, I want to break down how I was able to save this money in such a short amount of time. We'll start with breaking down my income sources and amounts for the last 90 days. Then I'll share where I put all of the money I saved, which includes a handful of different investments and accounts. Afterwards, I'll walk through the habits that I've developed to reach this milestone. This is where we'll cover some of the strategies and ideas that I use to earn more, spend less, and save more. So let's jump in. Obviously, you have to earn money before you can save it, so we'll start by looking at my income for the past 3 months. First up, we have my full-time job, which totals at about $9,100. These are my after-tax earnings, and this is the money I use for expenses and traditional investing. So this is the money I use to pay rent, pay my bills, and invest into my retirement accounts. Next is my freelance income, which is approximately $7,200. I write various web content as a freelancer, mostly for one client, and that's clearly a big part of my income. These are pre-tax earnings, so I take estimated taxes out of these payments, which is not reflected in this number. But this and the rest of my additional income is the money I'm able to use to invest and save more aggressively, which we'll detail more later. Next is YouTube income, which totals $4,600. Just to be clear, that income is not from this channel, but from another channel that I help run. So this is also pretty much freelance income, but from a different source. I actually just got monetized on this channel, so it will also be contributing to my income soon, and I have a fun update planned for you guys when that money starts coming in. Again, this is pre-tax earnings, so I take estimated tax payments out of this too. Lastly, we have the latest stimulus check, so that was $1,400 of additional money coming in during this period, which of course is not taxed. And that brings the total to about $22,300 of income over the last 3 months. Now let's talk about how I saved it. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I've been focusing heavily on investing, so that is where the majority of my saved income has been going. I do this with a number of different accounts and investments, so I'll break them all down. First is my Roth IRA, which is my responsible retirement account. This is the account that I prioritize over everything else, because I know by taking advantage of the maximum contributions and the account's tax benefits, a comfortable retirement will be pretty much guaranteed. I just got serious about this account late last year, so I spent the last 3 months maxing out last year's $6,000 contribution. So I've invested $2,000 to fulfill my 2020 limit and $1,000 for the 2021 tax year so far, making a total of $3,000 invested into my Roth IRA. Next is my 401k, which is my employer-sponsored retirement account. I really only use this because I get dollar for dollar match on the first 3% of my salary that I invest. So far, I've contributed about $400 for the year. With my 3% match, that's a total of $800 saved. Next is my Robinhood account, which is where I do the bulk of my investing. After allocating to my Roth IRA and my 401k, most of my money goes here. I know Robinhood has been catching a lot of heat lately, and rightfully so, but thanks to their instant deposits, free options trading, and 2.5% margin rates, I've stuck around. In the last 3 months, I've invested about $5,800 into this account. In fact, during the recent correction, I bought a lot of ARK Invest's Innovation ETF, ticker ARKK, as well as STPK, a SPAC stock merging with STEM, so I'm really excited about those investments. Next is my Fidelity investment account. I opened this account to invest in things like SPAC warrants and penny stocks, both of which you cannot invest in on Robinhood. I've invested about $2,200 into this account in the last 90 days, mostly into Lithium Chile, ticker LTMCF, which is a penny stock I covered a few weeks ago if you're interested in learning more. Up next, we've got my regular bank account. I've recently realized how aggressive I've been with purchasing stocks, so I figured it'd be healthy to cool off a little bit and build up a bigger cash reserve, either for a significantly red day in the market or whatever else might come my way. So I've set aside another $3,400 here. And that brings us to a total of $15,200 that I've invested or saved over the last 90 days. If you're keeping score at home, that's about a 68% savings rate in relation to my income. So let's take a look at how I did it. When it comes to saving money, I think there are 3 main elements for success. These are earning more money, reducing your expenses or spending less money, and developing good habits that help you save more money. I'll walk through how I've navigated each of these areas. First of all, I realized that I'm very lucky to have multiple streams of income, because it's the single biggest reason that I've been able to save so much money lately. I'm salaried for $45,000 a year at my job, which gives me the security and stability to take some more risks with both investing and other opportunities. However, for a long time, it was also the biggest obstacle holding me back from growing my income. I quickly learned that my salary growth at my company was limited by things like tenure and experience, which I couldn't accelerate no matter how hard I worked. For about a year, I was pouring hours of overtime into a job that wouldn't reward me for what I put into it. Then I decided the best way for me to earn more money was to look elsewhere. That's when I decided to increase my freelancing workload and start my YouTube channel. I also found a few other opportunities along the way and took on just about everything I could. This obviously comes at a cost because now I probably work an extra 20 to 40 hours a week outside of my full-time job. But it really just takes one of these side hustles to make a difference and give you a huge amount of flexible income. My freelancing gig alone gives me another $2,000 a month on average, while my YouTube projects add another $1,500 a month on average. If you have any sort of digital skill, whether it's video production, writing, animation, graphic design, there are so many ways to get paid for it online. And I think we're seeing more and more opportunities there. And like I said, it just takes one steady gig to make a difference. Since I was used to living off of my salary, everything else I earn can get funneled right into savings. So being able to secure additional sources of income is monumental to increasing the amount of money you can save. Behind earning more money, the best strategy is to reduce your expenses and spend less money on a daily basis. Some people have more flexibility here than others, but if you can find a way to cut back, it can have huge benefits. I'm fortunate enough to live with my girlfriend and 2 roommates, which reduces my costs for rent, utilities, and other household expenses. Outside of these living expenses, I think transportation and food are the next biggest costs. Car payments and car insurance are nearly 1/3 of my expenses, which I'd definitely like to reduce in the future. Unfortunately, I made the rash decision to lease a new vehicle a few years back. In hindsight, I should have looked for a reliable used vehicle that would have secured me lower monthly payments and freed up some cash each month. For food, I try to cook at home whenever I can and use things like coupons and credit card cashback rewards to save money on groceries. If I do want to eat out, I avoid delivery at all costs. Delivery apps these days charge at least $5 to $10 per delivery, and if you're eating alone, that's incredibly expensive. I'd much rather hop in my car and drive a few minutes down the road than pay an extra $10 for a meal. Besides cutting down on living expenses, you just need to understand your wants versus needs. I won't go too deep here because it's a pretty simple principle, but improving your self-discipline on how you let yourself spend money can be really powerful. This was something I had to work on over time, but it's something that I've gotten better and better at the more I practice. I just ask myself if I'll get enough value out of an item to justify making the purchase. When I consider how little I'll actually use or enjoy an item, it's pretty easy to pass up on purchasing it in favor of saving money. After getting into this mindset, I don't really spend money on much unless it's for my health and well-being or if it's an experience I get to enjoy with other people. Plus, I get a lot of enjoyment out of buying stocks, so that helps motivate me to save too. The last key to saving more money is actually getting the habits in place to do it. And the thing that helped me the most here was adopting the Profit First system. Profit First is a method of managing and organizing your money where you allocate a certain portion of your income to different categories, such as expenses, savings, or personal spending. It's kind of similar to budgeting, but I found it to be a really flexible process without the headache of creating a formal budget. I covered this strategy in a video a while back if you're interested. But with Profit First, I identified the exact amount of money I needed to pay my essential expenses every month, which was $1,700. So as soon as I get my paycheck for the month, I put $1,700 into my expense bank account, and I don't have to worry about my bills until next month. After this, I identified how much money I wanted to save. I chose a 25% savings rate initially, which meant 25% of every paycheck that came in was going into my investment accounts. Setting these rules for myself ensured that I was hitting my savings goals every month, and it was easy because I knew I was also setting aside plenty of money for bills and for personal use. I stuck with this for a few months, and it was really empowering to hit the 25% savings rate I wanted. After a few months though, since I hadn't been spending much money outside of my expenses, I had money sitting around in my checking account. Once this built up to be $1,000 available for personal spending, I decided I probably didn't need any more than that at a given time. So anytime I got a paycheck, I would cap that personal spending allotment at $1,000 and put the rest into savings, which turned into me saving well over half of my income. And that's pretty much how I was able to save $15,000 in the last 90 days. Truthfully, I didn't expect to ever save more than 50% of my income, or save so much in such a short amount of time. And as cool as it is to see this personal growth, I've also struggled with the stress of working multiple jobs and feeling pressured to save as much as possible. I'm still viewing this accomplishment as a win, but I'm hoping to scale back over the next few months and spend more money on my health and my relationships. Personal finance is always a work in progress, and I'm still looking for the perfect balance between being financially responsible and letting myself enjoy life and spending money. I'd love to hear about your struggles or successes with saving money if you feel like sharing in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.